Welcome to part 4 of season 2 of the Inside Out podcast, our look at some of the best stories from throughout the tennis world. And I'll say it again here at the top of today's episode. What makes tennis such an enjoyable sport to follow is that it truly is one of the only global sports out there. There are so many fascinating stories from the thousands of professional tennis players because everyone comes from a different background, has a different religion, has a different, socioeconomic status. And the fact that we are all brought together by our beloved sport of tennis, no matter where you are, you show up to a court ready to show off your skills. If there are other tennis players there, they will embrace you. And it's, that sort of fact is what truly makes us one tennis community. And it's been such a thrill to get to share season 2 of the Inside Out podcast with you all. Court Chronicles, as we learned in part 4, a new title here should be called Court Chronicles 74 Flights, 46 Countries, 1 Year, the story of Cameron Mofid's journey. Joining us on part 4 of this series, of course, once again, is Cameron Mofid. Cameron, again, we just finished your journey through Africa. We have already been through Europe, Mallorca, and we were in Athens. For you, to look back, and again, we're on part 4, we've still got a lot of your journey to go, but to relive those experiences, I feel like it must just be crazy to talk about with retrospect. We ended part 3 with skydiving. I feel like just even imagining yourself skydiving again probably brings chills.
Yeah, to go back to that moment, I mean, especially because it was so short, it's just 10-15 seconds of free fall. It's definitely one of the more specific, I guess, times that I could kind of relive through that whole year. But now from Africa, going to not South America, that's 2 parts away, going to the Middle East, now in Dubai. That's where we start the next part.
Yeah, well, first of all, no spoilers. Come on, now they all know where you're headed next. But no, certainly you head, as I teased at the end of part 3, to Dubai. And for all of you listeners, just a quick reminder, you want to see videos, photos, just images of Cameron's journey, what he was able to capture along the way. Rest assured, we are also making this a YouTube video, so you can go check that out on our Cracked Racquets YouTube channel. You can also read along Cameron's diary by going to our website, crackedrackets.com, following along with all of the action. But as you mentioned, Cameron, let's kick things off where we left them. You go from Africa, and you've been on the road, I think about, how long were you in Africa? 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So we're about 2 months into your journeys at this point. And again, you've seen so many cool things in the Mediterranean. You've now gotten to travel through Africa. What brings you to Dubai next? Was it simply as, again, getting back to incorporating tennis? There happened to be a pro event there during this part of your journey?
Well, I knew I wanted to go to the Middle East at some point, and honestly, it was just kind of the way the flights worked, because it was a lot cheaper for me to go from the Middle East back to Miami than from Africa. It wasn't so much more expensive, and the flights were pretty reasonably, they weren't very expensive, honestly, to go from Cape Town, direct flight to Dubai. So I said, all right, let's do it. So I took a one-way flight to Dubai, and there I did go to the tennis where the Dubai Duty Free is, the ATP 500. It was empty. I had to sneak in. I had to go around some, I guess, gates or something because it was locked up. But I saw that there. And I saw the Burj Khalifa, tallest building in the world. I saw the Burj Al Arab with the 7-star hotel. I went to Abu Dhabi for a day, which was really incredible. And I also went to Oman. I took a boat trip to Musandam Peninsula, which is one of the Omani peninsulas controlled on the border of UAE and Oman. And there, with some Polish and French tourists, I went around the cliffs, which kind of reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean a little bit, just because it was so picturesque. So Dubai was a great time.
And, you know, of course, you do take the time to sneak onto the courts. I'm not going to say where I've done this, but it was the weekend, the opening qualifying weekend of an event. And it was later, you know, 6, 7 p.m. in the day. So everything's laxed, everything's laid back. And you're not allowed to bring your rackets into these. Well, I guess you might be able to if you want to get them signed. But if you look nefarious, you bring in your racket and it's obvious, it's going to be hard to sneak around anywhere. Well, one of my buddies ran out to his car to go grab the rackets. I snuck over to a practice court. He tossed the rackets over the fence, and then he came back to the practice courts, and we were able to hit for a little bit on one of the professional courts at X event, which again, I'm not going to say because I don't want to be banned from getting press credentials there ever again. But something I always notice, and maybe it's because my experience as well, I guess this is going to narrow where this event was. I played on a hard court, and it was just so dramatic, so much more dramatically slow than the usual courts I was hitting on. When you get to go to a place like Dubai, hit on that center court, how, you know, the grandeur of it all, how is it?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's such a different vibe, I guess, when tournaments are in session and not, because I've got into living in Miami. I've seen Crandon Park now, and it's totally empty. It's such a bizarre feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but at the same time, you say, all right, Federer's won how many titles here? Djokovic has won here. Murray has won here. So that was awesome, and it was hot because it was end of May. It was 100 and whatever degrees outside, and it was challenging with the heat. It was during Ramadan, so everyone was fasting. There wasn't any restaurants open, so it was testing the conditions was interesting.
And I'm sure for you, you talk about that to get to travel to the Middle East. You talked about wanting it to be a travel destination. Was this another city? And, if you've listened throughout this series, I know you're calling tennis federations up and saying, hey, I want to come and hit. Was that what you did when you traveled to these countries as well?
So Dubai, no, just because there was so much I wanted to do in such a short amount of time. I mean, I did visit the site of the Dubai Duty Free tournament, but once I left Dubai, so I leave Dubai and I get to Tel Aviv, and that was a problem because I get to Tel Aviv, fly from Dubai to had to go to Amman, Jordan, because the political tensions, you can't fly directly to Israel, and because I'm Egyptian, I have an Arab last name. So when I'm there, it's late at night. I had an 8-hour layover. Like it was, 100 and whatever degrees. I was very tired. And they start asking me questions, why am I there? Why am I in Jerusalem? You're a single male. What are you doing? Like here in our country. And I was like, guys, I'm just sightseeing. I got a little snappy with them. They take my passport and they like interviewed me for hours about like why I was there, what I was doing. So I didn't actually leave the airport until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And the first thing I did was I saw there was a challenger in Jerusalem. So I took a bus from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. I get to the ATP Challenger where I had a mutual friend playing. My friend, his name's Carter Lynn. Carter. He represents Braden Schnurr, a Canadian player. And so we, I went to him and I said, hey, Braden, we have a mutual friend. And his hitting partner's brother was a friend of mine from the juniors. So that event was a lot of fun because I knew a lot of familiar faces from Legends United and just got to watch the tennis for a day.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, look, Carter Lynn, another true U of M graduate, U of M, not UM, dating back again to an earlier episode. But yeah, to get to see the challenger in Jerusalem, to get to call him up, I imagine that was awesome. I also imagine, again, you talk about the cultural differences. Israel is a place where it's very prevalent. Again, some of the differences between some of the people who live within the country, and we don't have to explore those differences right now. Don't worry. Although I did find your commentary about stepping in there. I think you described it as a puzzle piece that doesn't fit with the pieces around it. Look, as again, it's just a very interesting description to see your perceptions. It's fascinating. I happen to have traveled to Israel before as well. These chops, I think, give away that sort of fact about me. But yeah, it's just a fascinating place to be in, to get to make, I've made that drive from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, and to get to go watch some tennis, just to be in that environment, especially after how much it took to get back into the country. country. I do imagine, again, in terms of the tumultuous parts of your journey, that had to be one of them.
Yeah, it was tricky. I mean, it was, I was a little worried there for a second just because they had my passport and it was just, it was a little bizarre. But I mean that in the best way possible, the puzzle
Yeah.
piece, because people are so good. It's just, it's a shame with the political problems there, but the people are so good. The country is so beautiful. I really had such an amazing time. And actually, while I was there, I remembered that one of the ex-students from Sanchez before I got there, Guatemalan kid, wound up going to Israel. So my friend said, you got to reach out to Rudy. And at the time I was running the ASC Instagram, just for fun. And I opened the app and it said Rudy Richter. And so I DM'd him and I said, Rudy, my name's Cameron. Nice to meet you. I went to the academy. Hope this isn't weird, but was wondering if you'd be around to show me around. And an hour and a half later, I was in his dorm room, taking shots with his friends in Tel Aviv. And so that was a blast. We went out that night. He's such a great guy. He came and visited me in Miami a few months later. So yeah, Israel was really a blast. I got to see Palestine, see the Dead Sea. I got to see the Western Wall and the Muslim Quarter, the Armenian Quarter. It was just probably the most culturally enriching experience of my whole travels was in Israel.
Yeah, and again, the point I meant to stress is, yes, despite all of these security things in place, you get to Israel, and it's just such a beautiful place, and the people, are so kind and so loving, and yeah, it's got a vibrant nightlife, and so certainly I imagine you enjoyed your experiences there, and having been to the old city of Jerusalem myself, having been to the Dead Sea, there's no place like it. It's just, especially to that sort of, to see religion as that important to a culture, to an area. Certainly for me, growing up the way I did here in the United States it was not similar to my experience. And again, it's just a cultural shock. It's something that you really appreciate having that experience to be a part of, to live within for a little bit of time. We lived in a kibbutz for, I think it was like 7-10 days throughout the duration of my time there. And it's unlike anything else.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, the time there to be around, I think just the culture for me was so unique because you walk literally 2 minutes and you're just in totally another culture, totally another religion. And so that was pretty beautiful for me to see. And actually, in my last day, I had like 24 hours left. And I knew that Petra was a 7-hour drive. I really wanted to go before I left. And so I took a bus that left at 2 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. I got to the border at around 6 a.m. and then got to Petra at around 9 a.m. And one of the kids on the van with us, his name was Alex, Australian kid. And everyone knows I love Australia. Australia is like my favorite place ever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you get along with Alex as well.
Yeah, so Alex and I are talking, and there's a New Zealander guy too. So we're just 3 guys just hanging out, talking on our way to Petra. We've all pretty much same background, just wanted to travel around. Josh was a surfer from New Zealand. Alex, super chill guy. He was selling timeshare before he started traveling, and we pretty much see Petra together. One of the local guides, I guess, told us he could take us up the mountain. So in my flip flops, I climbed up the cliffs of Petra. But you can imagine how hard it is in flip-flops. At points, I literally thought I was going to fall off. I lost my flip-flops a few times, but we make it up, and we're looking at Petra from an aerial view, no tourists. I got to see their house, I guess, which is just kind of a tent of sorts. And, they were playing, I think Britney Spears on a speaker up there or something. And I just said, this can't get better than this. And so we're up there, and I'm learning about, how they live. The locals in Petra actually do live like, the indigenous ancestors. They don't have electricity there as much. And so it was just really beautiful to see that. And Alex and I are talking. He's like, we should go to Canada for the NBA finals. He's like, let's do something together. And Josh, I think, was headed to Cyprus next, or Portugal, to surf. And I was headed back to Miami. I said, you know what, he said, I've never been to South America. Alex said, I haven't been. Yeah, I've heard it's great. And I said, I haven't been either. And I guess that's where we'll kind of leave off this part of the memoir. I guess this part 4 will wrap up here, but Alex kind of had in the back of my mind, South America.
Yeah, no, again, it's the stops you make along the way that clearly influenced your journey. And, there's some outstanding photos from you during this portion of your trip in the Middle East. Anytime you're in the Middle East, just the scenes you are able to see are truly spectacular. Just the architecture of it all, the fact that so much of it has aged so well. It's just so surprising, and it's just so fascinating. And of course, I've also floated in the Dead Sea. There's a great photo of you there. Pretty overrated. It's just like floating in a pool, but it stings. And you're like, what am I doing here? Like this hurt, I have blisters on my hands. I'm a tennis player. This is difficult. And I'm sure in your experience, and again, you're there, you want to get ingrained in the culture. You want to see as much of the land and just the scenery as possible. Were you able to find any time to play any tennis?
When I was in Jerusalem, so Rudy was a good tennis player himself. He had ATP points. He was on the Davis Cup team. And I didn't play, but I watched a lot because I was at that tournament, that 250. It was a lot of tennis. I didn't get to play, though, because I watched Braden play his matches. He won. And then Rudy and I spoke for hours about memories about, the academy. Keep in mind, we were a little drunk, so some of them were a little bit some of the stuff that the academy wouldn't want me to say so much, but it was a good time we had over there. And yeah, I mean, tennis, as I said, it always is. It always winds up kind of creeping into my travels.
No, without question. That is so awesome to hear. Yeah, I'm sure there's some stuff you do still want to keep off camera. But of course, again, you can read more about this journey, see more of the architecture that Cameron saw by watching this on YouTube, by following along in his written diary, which you can find on our website, crackedrackets.com. Yeah, again, the journey is spectacular. I'm curious if you had to guess right now, again, this is just a random follow-up tangent. Do you think you've hit a tennis ball on 6 of the 7 continents in the world?
I've hit tennis balls in Africa. I've hit tennis balls in the States. I've hit tennis balls in South America. I have hit tennis balls in Europe. I've hit tennis balls in Asia. And I have hit tennis balls in Australia. So yeah, 6 out of 7.
Is there any scenario you see yourself hitting a tennis ball in Antarctica? Is that season 5? Maybe that's probably season 10 of Inside Out.
Yeah, that's going to be tough, especially because I hate the cold. So
yeah,
it's a little tricky. I might not make it over there in my